with just a quick intro of Mark. Um,
Okay.
we've got, I don't know, paragraphs and paragraphs. I think we could, your
Oh,
Wikipedia
come
page
on,
must be
man.
like 4 feet long. I
Thanks.
mean, I think one of the best books in sales development in terms of, I loved how you broke it down strategically, or not strategically. It was almost formulaic, like that you almost provided like a bit of a formula to, this is exactly, these are the things that you need to do in terms of like rep scoring and things like that. That was really what I remember. I want to say um, David Scott wrote an article that referenced part of your book.
Yeah. Yeah, he was
Um,
he was great. He was a great like early he what do you say to me? He's like it's I remember it was like 2008 or 2009 when he invested in HubSpot. He was like it's so valuable that you're an engineer. And
mhm,
it helped me click everything that like because I couldn't see it myself because I was too in there.
mhm.
But he'd worked with so many sales leaders. So yeah, that was a cool article that he put together.
It was incredible, and it's in reading what you've written, it's so obvious once you know that. You're like, oh, that's why he's so, it's, everything is so organized. And so if you're not familiar with Mark, he's the managing director at Stage 2 Capital. It's a venture capital firm. He's also a senior lecturer at Harvard. I don't know if you've heard of it. I'd say most importantly, you were SVP of global sales and CRO at HubSpot. You were fairly early, right? You were like employee.
Fourth employee, yeah.
There you go. And so, in terms of people that have seen the journey from what we're all trying to replicate, Mark is the person. He's not only lived it, he's managed it, he contributed to a major startup in the space. Now he writes about it, teaches about it, and then invests in people that are doing it. Mark,
Cool. I
thanks so
love it,
much for being
Colin.
here.
Thank you. All right, and you can see my screen okay, Colin?
Yep. Yeah.
All right, great. So yeah, hey everyone. I'm hoping you're having a great day. I mean, congrats to the team for putting together such a stellar speaker series. Can't wait to see y'all in person at some point soon. Yeah, so we're gonna go through. I've never done this speech before, actually. It was actually supposed to be a SaaStr speech in 2020, and then we all know what happened there, literally like that week. And I have kind of dusted it off, and the organizers were like, "Hey, can you give this here?" And hopefully I can keep iterating on it. Well, we're gonna talk about the major problems. I'll tell you. Uh, I'm really comfortable on the chat. So if I don't know if you have access to chat, but you can chat away with reactions or questions. I'm happy to kind of incorporate if I seem appropriate during the speech. But here's the context. I mean, as Colin mentioned, like I've just been really blessed the last 6 or 7 years to have stepped out of a full-time operating role, and I just look at so many different startup sales and marketing teams or sales and marketing teams in general. I mean, I've done a lot of work for BCG with like $10 billion companies. I've done a lot of work for seed accelerators and everything in between. And there's some pretty glaring potholes that I see almost all the time in growth. And I want to share, I think, the top 7 with you today. So we have a fun, I think, 45 minutes together. If you know me, I tend to go a little bit of a faster pace, but I'm happy to post these slides. So don't feel like you have to take screenshots or stuff. I'll get these out to you on social media or through the crew. And you can take your time to absorb some of the more meaningful content. So here's the first one. And I don't think it's talked about much, but I see it all the time. And I've like worked with companies on it to help fix it later. But it's increasing your price without a sustainable moat. Okay. And I typically see a company come out of the gate well, get what seems to be product market fit. They might be the first mover in a hot category. And the board's like, hey, you should raise your prices. and and they do. And honestly, it works for like the first year. But what we don't realize is, not only does the obvious things happen of when you increase that price naturally, you end up with a longer sales cycle. You end up with more friction with the buyer. But the thing that we miss the most is you are a much more attractive, disruptive target for future entrants. Okay, when you started and your price is reasonable, um, then it was harder for people to come in and disrupt. But if you go and really increase your price like your board wants you to, you're going to have a great year and someone's going to come and disrupt you. All right. So I just want to I love driving ACV annual contract value, but I love doing it through expansion. Okay. And so I just really would love, if you're thinking about pricing strategies, you're early in your venture potentially, maybe you have a new product coming out, consider keeping that open price as tight as possible. That's why I love PLG and product led growth, because it's almost free. And how hard is it to disrupt free? Um, and certainly drive ACV like the growth investors and Wall Street wants to see, but drive it through expansion. And so you can see the blue and the green line here, which like in the old days, we used to like maximize price out of the gate, and over time, the customer would kind of eventually see the value. And today's modern pricing models allow us to almost price just under the value. And it's a far less disruptible model. Now, that naturally kind of dovetails into, well, first off, I just like when I teach at pricing models, here's just a kind of a useful framework of how to think about the optimal price, which is it's a combination of three lenses. One is how does the buyer perceive ROI? So when you tell them it's $25,000 a year, how do they think about the value they're going to get? And is it like 3 times more? That's a pretty good ROI, right? So it's almost their own payback on your own solution. That's one view. The other view is how much would it cost to do a competitive or to buy something else? Like you're preaching some value. I love the value. I just don't know if I want to extract that value with you. So what other ways can I do it, and how much does that cost me? And then the third piece is your own business model. Like what do you need to charge for your unit economics to work? So just like an interesting framework for you to think about as if you might reflect on some pricing on how to come to terms with the optimal solution for you. So that naturally dovetails into number 2, which is, well, Mark, you said don't increase price until I have a sustainable moat, but what's a sustainable moat? And this is where I find there's just a lot of kind of misguidance and confusion in the ecosystem on what a true moat is. When I ask an entrepreneur, what is your moat? They often reference a feature in their product. And then I ask them, okay, well, how long would it take the competition to copy it? And they say 6 months at most. It's not a sustainable moat, right? So I see a lot of teams relying on features that are copyable to create a moat, and that's really a temporary moat. So we want to talk about what a true sustainable moat is. And here's like the kind of the litmus test that I've talked to people about, and they found it really useful, and they kind of go back to management team. And the question is this: imagine there were like 5 rock star engineers that quit their companies, whether they were at Facebook or Google or LinkedIn or somewhere where they have like really good product jobs, and they raised a bunch of money from Sequoia, and they attacked you. They came at your space. They literally reverse engineered your product, like downloaded it, bought it, whatever, figured out what it just copied it, and then sold it for half the price. Why do you still win? When you're going head to head with them and someone has your exact product and they're selling it for half the price, why do you still win? If you still win, that's a sustainable moat. Now that's hard to do. And you don't have to do it. There are success stories out there where they outpaced the competition and they got there. But I think a lot of the best success stories, whether purposefully or accidentally, ended up in a sustainable moat. So let's just spend a minute on that, on what is a temporary moat and what's a sustainable moat. Okay, so we already talked about examples like the product features as a temporary moat. Hey, I offer 24/7 support. Like, yeah, so now the competition next week can offer it too. We have the best integrations with HubSpot and Salesforce. They can build it as well. We have the most funding. They can raise money. Not too bad, but like, I mean, that's not the easiest one, but they can. We've got partnerships with all the best software players. Well, unless they're exclusive, like they're going to get those as well. Right. So we just have to be a little careful about how much we're resting in these particular moats. Right. Now, what is a real moat? Like, let's just rattle off a couple examples. And I put a link at the bottom here to Michael Porter's work. If you've ever studied that, Porter's 5 Forces, really, it's a multi-decade old work. It's still the best rigorous work I've seen on what true sustainable moats are. I think he calls it barriers to entry as one of the forces. And I'm going to list off what he talks about and give you modern examples of them. right? And so, he talks about network effect. Okay, and what that essentially means is for every additional person that joins your community or your product or whatever, then that adds, it's more valuable to the existing players, right? The telephone was the classic example. The first phone sucked. Like, what do you do with this thing? No one else had a phone. But then as people like adopted them, awesome, right? And so we've got really great modern examples in social networks like LinkedIn or marketplaces like Amazon, right? And so those exist in some of the modern business models that we have today. Um, then you got brand. Now he talks about brand, and what's the modern version of brand? Content creation or category creation. Like I'll lean on my ex company, HubSpot, with inbound marketing. That was so important for us. I mean, there were copycats that came at us every year. They built the same product. They claimed to have built the same product. We still won because we had created the inbound marketing category. If you're going to do inbound marketing, you got to do it with HubSpot. So that's an opportunity we all have as companies today to create a moat. Economies of scale, right? So that just means like we have so much volume that is advantageous. Like arguably in these cloud infrastructure plays like AWS and Snowflake and artificial intelligence, that's a little bit of debate out there, but I kind of do believe that the AI algorithm that has processed a billion transactions is naturally going to be better than an AI algorithm that's processed 100,000. So if we're in AI, how do we get to process the most people? And that creates a sustainable moat that we will win, even when the competition is underpricing us. Switching costs. Like I don't love this one because it doesn't help you win the greenfield, but it's still valuable. And I think Salesforce is the classic example. I mean, Salesforce is an unbelievable company, one of the most successful software companies in the world. I think when you talk to many people, I don't know if they love it. I think they think it's expensive. It's valuable because they pulled a lot of stuff together. But it's just like all your stuff is in there. So you can't go anywhere, right? So there are opportunities to create switching costs. There's distribution channels. I'm really bullish on PLG these days, product-led growth. I mean, if you can figure out how to get someone to adopt your product without involving a human and to see value of it from it, and then either monetize them through a sales team or by having them triple wire and then monetize it, that is friggin' hard. That is friggin' hard for someone else. Like, and even if these ex Google engineers copy your thing, like, I mean, look at Zoom, like with their free version, like someone creates a new Zoom. I don't know. It has such a good brand association. It's PLG. I'm just going to download Zoom. And then when I trip the wire, I trip the wire. So that's certainly one that this one doesn't work in software as much because it's patent oriented, but I put Tesla down. Sometimes you have like regulatory things, and then capital requirements can be, I know somewhat contradicts with my funding thing, but things like SpaceX, like building rockets. I mean, certainly you and I can't get together and like try to disrupt Elon and SpaceX very easily. So anyway, just some examples of moats. And these are things that like you need to know, your executive team needs to understand, your sales team to understand. And sometimes we don't have to actually have a moat coming out of the gate, but we have to know what it's going to be. And sometimes moat development can come at the cost of growth. All right. So just kind of have an eye toward what a true sustainable moat is. Be careful about raising your price too early around it, and make sure you're heading for it at some point. All right. Pothole number 3. I'm not going to start with the title. I want to start with this chart. Happens so many companies. I don't know. Stare at this chart for a second. What is this saying? So what this says is it shows here the sales percentile. I mean, for this individual, where do they rank on the team? Okay, so were you the top rep, in which case you're up here, or were you the bottom rep, in which case you were down here? And then it shows the probability of being promoted to manager. So this shows that if you're a top rep, you're more likely to be promoted to manager. Pretty intuitive. This is interesting. This shows where are you as a rep, top rep or bottom rep? How much value you create as a manager. Holy cow. It's inversely correlated. the top reps that were promoted to manager create the least value. So that's pothole number 3 that happens all the time is so many of these organizations are promoting their top rep to manager. All right, fine. So what do I do? Promote my worst rep? No, I can't do that. Right. So we just have to appreciate that, like, just because someone's number 1 rep on your team, it does not default to manager. Okay. And I think this is a situation in almost all functions, from marketing to finance to HR to product engineering. I think it's very pronounced in sales. And, we really have to think about, like, what is the role of a salesperson and what does it take to be good there? And what is the role of a sales manager and what does it take to be good there? And they're pretty different. You can have a big ego and be a little pushy and be really good at sales. Those aren't good at traits for a manager, right? So no, we can't promote our best, our worst reps to manager, but we don't necessarily want to look to our top rep. Okay, we want to look at anyone that's consistently hitting quota is a manager candidate, and they're all equal manager candidates. Okay, and so there's a couple of things that we want to do here. Number one, let's make sure we create a growth path for our salespeople who don't aspire to be a manager, or maybe don't have the abilities to be a manager and don't have the patience to develop them. They're just better staying as a salesperson. That's great. And I don't know why this isn't adopted as much as I kind of think it should be. But in addition to your compensation plan that you have every year for your salesperson, there should be a promotion path to grow and stay as a salesperson. Okay, so all this shows is a basic example from a company that's paying reps out of the gate 80K OTE and gives them some options. And the rep's like, great, I don't want to be a manager, but I want to grow. I want to make more money over time. I want to get more options. How do I do that? It's very clear. You sell $60,000 of monthly recurring revenue over the course of however long it takes, 6 months, 8 months, a year. You average your quota for 3 months in a row and you sell reasonable upfront contracts. These are haphazardly chosen. These can be selected by the strategy of the company, but it's crystal clear what I need to get promoted. And when I do, my variable comp gets bumped up and I get more options and I have a new set of goals. So I was able to keep reps at HubSpot for, like, on average 7 or 8 years through this model when the average tenure was like 2.2 on an inside sales model. So just think about that. And even, like, especially in the SDR function, I really like this approach for SDRs where it's like, it's brutal to cold call, as for 12 to 18 months. It's brutal. But when you break that down into like 2 to 3 month tiers, where it's like you come out, you have a base salary and you have to make 50 dials a day for 6 weeks in a row and set 3 appointments. And once you do, you get graduated to tier 2. And now you qualify for the commission plan. And now you have to set 4 appointments a week and score an 80 plus on our SDR exam. And when you do, we're going to give you access to the better leads. And once you have that, you have to keep doing 40 appointments a week. And now we're going to put you on more of a quality score. Like, you got to generate at least 30,000 of ARR from your leads. And once you do that, then we increase your commission and you have the next set of goal. And once you do that, now you're in account executive training. And once you do that, now you can interview for an AE job. That just feels so much more progressive, as opposed to, like, you got a cold call for 18 months and slug it out, right? So just think about applying this promotion path that's not associated with managers. The other thing that I didn't put the slides in here on is for the manager path, what you want to do is, yeah, fine. So Susan, you want to become a manager? Great. Just, you have to hit your quota for 2 quarters in a row, and then I'll put you into sales leadership school, right? And then you could create like I posted on this before, like, pretty simple, like, leadership curriculum of reading and role plays that can span over the course of 2 or 3 months to expose Susan to what it will be like to be a manager. And once she gets through that, she can actually hire the first rep under your guidance while still maintaining her role as a rep. I don't like the permanent team lead where you carry your own quota and manage reps, but I'm okay for it for a quarter. For Susan to go out, go through the interview process, interview some people, choose one with your guidance, and then coach and mentor them to productivity. It's just one rep. Keep hitting your quota and manage this one rep. And then if it goes well, we'll give you an 8-person team. But if you make mistakes, you didn't make a mistake with 8 reps, you made a mistake with 1. So that whole process is like a 6-month journey, and it gives us all a chance to see if Susan's actually going to be a good manager or not. All right. All right. Number 4. Oh man, this happens like I'm not sure. I've never seen this not happen. What's the right? That's a double negative. I'm not sure that I've seen this never happen. And that is prioritizing predictable revenue acquisition ahead of predictable customer value creation. It gets all the time. Hi, founder. Tell me about your business. Well, we have product market fit. Oh, how do you know? We have 5 customers and it works. Okay. So what are you doing now? Our new goal is 1 million in revenue. Oh, okay. So not really excited about that. Sounds intuitive. Everyone does it. I think it's leading to a much higher failure. I think the failure rate for startups should be 60% and they're 80%. I think it's because of this. So this is kind of jam on that. Like, well, when should we make that $1 million our target? When should we move to like focusing on predictable revenue? And yeah, the answer is product market fit, but like, let's just understand what product market fit is. I don't think product market fit is 5 people use your product and it works. I don't. I think the best measure of product market fit is if 90% of your customers every year stick around. Now, we don't have a year to figure that out. And I can't figure out my churn like within the first few weeks. So we have to define what our leading indicator to retention is to understand product market fit as early as possible. And so this is where a lot of my work has been within the startup community and even businesses that are large that are rolling out new products or going to new markets is knowing if it's going well as early as possible. And that is to define a leading indicator of retention that has this particular format, which is P% of customers achieve E event in T time. Well, you can see like what Colin said, my engineering, the kind of bias coming out here, but let's just kind of humanize this a bit with the variables. So Slack, they have product market fit as 75% of the customers send 2000 T messages within the first 30 days of their lifespan of Slack. Dropbox, if 85% of customers back up their device in an hour, and HubSpot, if 80% of customers use 5 or more features in their platform within 60 days. Now we're bringing to life the P% E event T time variables. I love these definitions as product market fit much more so than 5 people use our product and it works. Right? So this puts the immediate North Star on the business. Like the difference in HubSpot in year 1 and 2, if Halligan got up and said, our new goal is 1 million in revenue, imagine what everyone does in the business. Versus he stands up and says, our new goal is 80% of the customers we sign up will use 5 or more features within the first 60 days of their life. That is such a healthier business. And there are so few businesses that hit that, even when they scale to 100 million and eventually die. Okay, and then this is a good way of looking at it by cohort, right? So this particular company acquired 24 customers in January. And it just measures each month, month 1, month 2, month 3, what percent hit the leading indicator. So by month 6, only 39% had done it. That's terrible. You don't have a business. But they did a bunch of things. They enhanced the product, they enhanced the onboarding process. Most importantly and most impactfully, they enhanced the way they sell. They set better expectations with the right customers. And they acquired 50 of them in September. And look at that. By month 2, 68% had achieved the lead indicator. That is product market fit. That is a foundation upon which to build a business and go to market machine that few organizations hit. And it's a prerequisite to success. Okay. So just something to think about there. And then there's an opportunity to align your go to market with it. If you're at this stage, you don't hire the awesome salesperson from salesforce.com. That person's going to show up asking for the pitch deck and the process. You don't have it yet. You need a salesperson that's out there talking to customers all day, giving feedback to the product and engineering folks so you can find product market fit. And I don't want to talk about demand gen or pricing or compensation. All that's unscalable right now. You know what David Cancel at Drift was doing at this stage? He was literally flying to customer sites that were paying him $50 a month and he was personally onboarding them when they were a 10-person company. Do unscalable things early. That's what you need to do, right? And so anyway, just something to think about. Hopefully, like, don't jump too quickly to setting top line revenue as your goal, especially before you've proven the predictable customer success creation and define your leading indicator. Okay. Related to that, what's a good way to do it to sustain that as you move into the growth phase is I find a lot of people have compensation plans for their salespeople that are exclusively focused on bookings and not lifetime value. Like, let's just take 2 reps. One rep signs up $1 million of bookings in the 2020, and half their business cancels a year later. One rep signs up $1 million of bookings, maybe even less, 900,000 of bookings, less, but only 10% cancel and 20% upgrade. If those 2 reps make the same amount of money in your comp plan, I think you got a big problem. Now we can't like wait. The problem with the comp plans is we can't wait a year to fully commission them. Like, we've got to reward or penalize salespeople at the time of behavior. So how can we do that in this new world of SaaS and subscription, right? So I'll tell a HubSpot story here where it's like I totally messed this up. So I had paid our reps. We only had one pricing plan. It was $250 a month. I'm like, here, I'll give you $500 every time you sign up a customer. If they stick around for 4 months, you keep it. If they cancel within 4 months, I'm taking it back. 4-month clawback. So what happened? Churn was crazy, out of control. And I looked at the churn by customer success manager, and it was like the same. And so it was interesting how the churn unfolded. I looked at the churn in the first month of a customer's life cycle, and it was like no one canceled. Month 2, no one canceled. Month 3, no one canceled. Month 4, no one canceled. Month 5, everyone canceled. And I'm like, that's weird. I implement a 4-month clawback, and everybody cancels after the month 4. Sales reps work their comp plan, and they're the ones that are driving this friggin' churn. So I basically I sorted the reps by the LTV they were creating, right? I used how many customers they were signing up every month in the green against what their churn rate was as a salesperson, and I calculated an LTV. And even though this person had the highest LTV by far, they are actually selling only 10.8 customers a month, which is less than the top rep, which is over here at 12. So according to all the typical ways we measure sales, this person over here, oh, look at this person's signed up 13.2 customers a month, but a fraction of the LTV because their churn was 4.9%. So I basically told them, I'm like, listen, I'm going to like look at this chart every quarter, and I'm going to put you into a tier. And if you're in the top LTV tier, I double your commission. And if you're in the bottom quartile, then it's cut in half. But I'm going to train you how to sell good deals. And churn dropped by like 80% within 6 months. So just so much of these churn issues are based on how we're selling and the expectations we're setting. Now, I wouldn't recommend what I did there, to be honest with you. The model I work with a lot of companies with today is it's a little simpler to put in place, I think, and that is you sign up a customer and you get half your commission when they sign the contract and half the commission when they hit their lead indicator of retention. Okay, so if you go to the Slack example where their lead indicator of retention is when the company sends 2,000 team messages, then fine. Hey, congratulations for signing up like Microsoft as an account. I'm giving you half the commission now on the signature, and once they hit 2,000 team messages, I'll give you the other half. Now, it doesn't mean Mr. and Mrs. Sales Rep that you should become customer success managers. That's not the point. Let the CSM team do their job. You can pay attention to what's going on so you can get your commission check and learn from it if it fails, because it's probably something you did. But all I want you to do is set good expectations so they know what it takes to set up Slack, to get in front of the users, and just set good expectations so that happens. In fact, I'll give you a free trial account, and if you can get them to send 2,000 team messages before they even sign up, then you get your full commission right off the bat. And you'll be surprised how many reps do that, and you'll be surprised the extraordinary impact that has on your business to align those the customer value creation with the selling activity. Okay, so just think about that comp plan and aligning LTV with aligning the comp with the LTV, not just bookings. All right, pothole number 6, massive hiring of salespeople right after a financing round. Like seriously, 50 out of 50 times last year, I talked to these companies, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's going great. We got 12 people at the company. We got 3 salespeople. We got ourselves to $3 million in revenue. It's great, and we just closed a $10 million Series A, and now we got to scale. So that's why I'm calling you." I'm like, "Okay, cool. What's your plan?" "Well, we already we hired 12 reps this month." You did what? You have 3 salespeople and 12 people in your company. You just hired 12 salespeople in a month? Yeah, is that bad? Yeah, that's really bad. What, like, how many leads a month do you give your salespeople? I haven't calculated. Most of our leads come from our CEO's referrals. Okay, great. So now we're spreading those referrals across 15 people. And like, do you have an onboarding program? Who's your managing them? Oh, I am. You're managing 15 people? And it's like, how many interviews did you do to get to 12 hires? Like that, it's just that's that causes a lot of failure. Pretty much every time I've seen it, it's like they fire 12 salespeople a year later, right? Because we don't have like, yeah, the spreadsheet kind of works if you're just looking at salesperson plus productivity, but it doesn't work in terms of like demand generation, sales management, onboarding, um, all that kind of stuff. So even the interview and selection process, right? So what I prefer there, well, let's just kind of dive into that a second. Okay, so we did establish product market fit. So before we scale, we also want to establish go to market fit. And I've got I did this speech last year in this conference, so I'm not going to dive in too much to this. If you didn't see it, you can Google Science of Scaling. You'll see on the Stage 2 website. I got a nice ebook for you that you can download and read all through this. But it essentially just helps us understand that we have to achieve product market first. We already talked through that. Then we have to achieve go to market fit, which means not only can we predictably create customer success creation that we proved in product market fit, but we can do it profitably. We can do it with good unit economics. And so the way we know if we're achieving that good unit economics is we extract the unit economic target back to tangible sales metrics. I want to get LTV CAC at 3. All right. So what does that mean in terms of like my cost per lead, my cost per sale, my conversion on leads to customers, all that kind of stuff? So I'm not going to go through the math here, but I'm doing relatively simple algebra to take LTV to CAC greater than 3 and extracting that back to variables that we can control, like how many leads does my SDR team create, how many bookings a week do they do, how many appointments, what's the conversion rate on appointments, what's the average sale price, that kind of stuff. Okay. And then I can really just instrument that into a business model and then instrument that into a dashboard. I know I went a little fast. I did this last year for y'all, and it's all written up. So the point is, from a high level, is at the go-to-market fit, we want to achieve positive unit economics. In order to do so and know as early as possible, we have to extract positive unit economics, the outcome, into input variables like leads per salesperson, close rates per lead, average sale price, to know that we're on track. Okay. And so once we have those two things, we've instrumented our retention, lead indicators retention, shown here, and we've instrumented our lead indicators of unit economics, which is shown here. We now have a speedometer. So that's kind of the answer to the scale, is like, great, congratulations on getting the $12 million Series A. But please don't hire 12 reps this month. Hire 2 reps every other month for the next 6 months. And then watch the speedometer. Are you properly onboarding and hiring these people so that they create good deals? Are you expanding demand gen so you can feed them? Most people understand that their business broke at the quarterly P&L, but that's what happened 9 months ago. the speedometer is telling us what's happening right now. And so if the speedometer stays green and you go through 6 months and hire 2 reps every other month, then hire 2 reps every month. And if it stays green for another 6 months, then hire 4 reps a month, and then hire 8 reps a month. And now you're a unicorn, and you're a unicorn in a very scientific way. Okay, so just some thoughts on how to think about scale. Don't think about the hiring as this one lump sum at the beginning of the fiscal year immediately after a fundraise. Think about it as a pace, and set up your speedometer to know and optimize your pace for your organization. Okay, last one is expansion and growth. Okay, and this is assuming that the playbook we figured out in our current segment will work in the next segment. And that segment could be any of these three variables. It's a market channel product combination. Okay, so let's say that we came out of the gate and we have our core product that we're selling to the mid-market or to the SMB, and we do it through content marketing. Okay, so that's what we got good at. And we scaled to 15 million in revenue. That's awesome. Okay. But that doesn't, usually there's a ceiling on that. And we have to find a new growth channel. So we can go upstream. We can change the market and go upstream, to expand from SMB to upstream, enterprise, which happens a lot. We can find new demand gen channels. We can diversify from just content marketing and introduce an outbound SDR team. Or we can build a new product. We can sell to the same market through the same channel. It's just we've now this new product that we can upsell with. But anytime we change one of those variables, there's a high probability that the go-to-market machine that we've built is not optimized for the new segment. But yet we think it is. Okay, so we have to be really careful and basically segment out our business into these three dimensions. What you see here as really a replication of the prior slide. This company is in the mid-market and the enterprise. It's a little different. They sell through partners and through direct. And they have a current product and they're building a new product. And as CEO, founder, or VP of sales, I can dictate where am I ready to scale because we have product market fit and go-to-market fit according to the science scaling framework. And where do we not have that, but we want to run experiments to unleash those as future scale segments? And where should we ignore? Because we're a young company and we can't attack all 8 of these at once. And so once I do that, it gives me direction as to like, okay, fine, I have to hire 2 reps every other month for the next 6 months to hit our board plan. I'm going to put those into the scale segments, the green people are the new hires. I'm going to keep the other segments where I'm learning as small cross-functional teams that look just like when I started out as a seed business, because it's really hard to learn while you're scaling. So you want to scale the core and we want to experiment and learn in the new stuff. Okay, and there's this remarkable framework that's taught at Harvard Business School called the ambidextrous organization by Michael Tishman. And what he means is ambidextrous is you can use your right hand and your left hand. And we did this at HubSpot without me even knowing about the framework. And then I watched it unfold at a lot of different companies. And it's like, he's got this framework spot on. And so, ambidextrous is you use your right and your left hand equally. And what he's showing, he's kind of using it as an analog to say, as an organization, when you hit 10, 15, 20 million in revenue and you need to unlock new growth avenues, you need to be good at scaling what you know and learning what you don't. And he's got this 3-pronged playbook to do that, which is 1, create an overarching strategy to encompass the core and the new, and to make sure they're reporting at the top, not by P&L size, but by strategic value, and that they're measured in a different way. Okay, so I want to bring those to life with a quick example from HubSpot with our CRM. Okay, so at this point, this is like the year 2013, I think. We've been in business for like 7 years. We've made all of our money through marketing software. We created the inbound marketing world term. We only have inbound marketing software, a blog, an SEO tool, an email tool, etc. And Halligan and Dharmesh were like, okay, we're going to add a CRM now, all right? And we're like, okay, cool. Now here's the problem. Let's talk about the first one, embracing, develop an overarching strategy. Here's our homepage at that time. Create marketing people love. HubSpot provides all the software you need to do inbound marketing. That's what everyone knows us as. Now we have a CRM. No, we don't. No one's going to buy a CRM from this company. So we need to broaden the strategy to encompass both the old and the new. And so here was the new website. Grow your business. Start a free trial of the marketing platform or the sales platform, right? The other thing is hold tension at the top. Most organizations, when they're like, okay, great, we have $80 million in revenue from our marketing product, and we have $100,000 in revenue from our sales product. So let's stick the sales product way down in the organization, reporting to some director of product with a team, and they'll figure it out. No, they're not. They're not gonna. They'll never figure out how to get that product out from the shadow of the marketing product. Someone with political power is going to have to run, offense for them to make sure and help the organization appreciate the strategic value that this project has. And so Tushman says, hold attention at the top. And that's what happened. Myself and Christopher O'Donnell were put in charge of this CRM product, and we reported directly to Halligan. It was a $100,000 line business, and the other one was 80 million. But the org structure was driven by strategic value, not P&L value. And that's what Tushman preaches, and that works very well. Okay. And the last part is embrace inconsistency. What he means by that is kind of what we've been talking about in this session a little bit, is when you come up with that new product, that new segment, you're going to go upstream now. You're going to add this new product. You're going to embrace outbound marketing to complement your inbound marketing. The first goal is not the same as the core. It's not $1 million ARR. The first goal is product market fit. The second goal is go to market fit. And the third goal is growth. So you have to kind of restart the methodology. Hopefully it goes fast. Hopefully you're right. And the go to market playbook is going to apply. I doubt it, but I hope it's close. And you've got to start out, if you're going to go in upstream, if you're going to add that new product, you can't jump to $1 million as that North Star metric. You've got to focus on the lead indicator within that segment or with that new product. And that's what he means by embracing consistency. Okay. Measure the core by P&L, measure the new by pace of learning. Okay. All right. So just to wind up here, I know we got 2 minutes left. Thank you, Colin, for the intro, just what I've been up to these days. So I'm 3 years into venture capital firm that I co-founded with JPO. It's the first venture capital firm called Stage 2 Capital. We're on Fund 2 right now. We have over 250 investors in that fund, and we essentially went after the CROs, CMOs, COOs, CCOs, all the go-to-market execs from the most famous software companies in the world. So you can see the list here. We have the CRO, CMO, COO of either like Atlassian or Snowflake or Zoom or GitHub or Twilio, Dropbox, Salesforce, SAP. Just a great group. And every day we go out and assess companies that we think have huge potential, and then and use the collective network to support them on their go-to-market strategy and design. If you want, there's a couple assets here that I've oh, by the way, we typically invest when these organizations are not raising money. Usually they're around $1 million in revenue between the seed and the A. So if you fit that, we actually have a very strong lens toward product market fit and customer value creation. So if you fit that, we'd love to hear from you. And then these are just some assets for you all that I'm going to build up the content marketing program again, but we've got a pretty, I think, an interesting blog where I interview a lot of these folks. We have the Science of Scaling ebook. We've got a bottoms up template that you can use to figure out how fast you can actually go and model out how to get to 1 million and 5 million and 10 million. I got Hiring Your First Sales Leader playbook. So those are some of the assets that you can check out. And then I know, thank you again, Colin, for the kind words in the book. I'm kind of amazed and humbled at how many of you continue to see value from it, and just know that 100% of the proceeds are donated to this awesome organization, build.org. If you haven't checked out Build, check them out. They're in over a dozen cities across the country, playing a huge role in addressing the inequality divide that we see by basically partnering with the worst performing high schools in the major cities, teaching these young kids who haven't been dealt the deck that many of the folks probably on the call have in their life, and teaching them entrepreneurship to get them through high school and into college. And I think the graduation rate is like 85% for those that are, or 99% for those involved, and like over 80% go to college, which is way higher than the averages for those high schools. So if you bought the book, thank you for the support. 100% of the proceeds go to build.org. And if you're looking for some additional soul food in your overall professional curriculum, check out Build. It's an awesome place to go and volunteer. Thank you for the time. I hope you extracted some value from that.
I was taking so many notes. It's always, yeah, always a pleasure to get the chance to
Thanks,
talk to you,
Colin.
man. Yeah, I love I remember the first time I saw your, and we'll see if my video actually works here. I'm trying to get it going, but
Yeah,
we'll see. We'll see.
we'll take the pinstripes.
Yeah.
I know you got this weird thing going on, but
Yeah, it's just refusing. So we
no,
may
it
as
looks
well.
good. Actually, I didn't even notice the pinstripes till you said it. And now I've said it to everyone, they're gonna notice, but it looks, yeah, it's all good.
Right on. Yeah, I think the thing that like blew me away, that I've had so many conversations with revenue leaders. Like I think I did 150 episodes on our podcast.
Oh gosh.
I've had probably thousands of sales calls here at Predictable Revenue that I've handled myself. And the thing that cube concept is something I've tried explaining. And I wish I'd seen that cube like years ago, because I would have been like, look, just look at what Mark says. It's so much, because you get so frequently, I talk to people about how to get their, what to do next, and they've got
Yeah.
this product and things are working. They're like, well, should I go for a new market or should I go for a new product? And it's like, it's so easy. You just, this is how you look at it. And it's like, you can
Yes.
either go deeper or you can go
Yes.
higher, but you
Yes.
can't try and do all of the things. And I think the
No.
most important takeaway is you have to treat all of those different elements separately, as differently. They're not exactly the same. It's not just one rev team. And I
Yeah, it
love
probably happens all the time where, like Colin, when you're seeing these people in the growth mode, because they're gonna hit that ceiling. And hopefully that gives a little framework that you're pointing out, right? Which is, first off, most people will just say like this, like, okay, well, I know we're trying to go from 15 million to 30 this year. And I know we have so much forecastability around our current business, which is selling this product to the SMB through inbound marketing. Okay. And unfortunately, when we stretch the spreadsheet out this year, it only takes us to 25. So we're missing $5 million.
Mhm.
And so what most organizations do is, first off, they detect that in December, the month before the annual plan, which is way too late. And then they just tell the board, hey, I got an idea. We're going to go upstream and get $5 million from there. And we're going to do it by just running the same playbook. And that just doesn't work. So to your point, Colin, like when you're hitting that 10, 15 million, you've got to have a part of your investment in business running some experiments. And to your point, 8 is too many and 0 is too few, right? So, and it's probably going to take 6 to 12 months to get through that sequence, to understand how to sell upstream. How long did it take you to find product market fit to begin with, right? And so you got to have that experiment funnel, hoping that in 2021, one of them will hit and be your 2022 growth engine.
And I think the timing piece is so critical, because if you miss that timing piece, you're going to miss you're going to miss everything.
You will.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you're thinking about these things, the time to start is as soon as you're looking like 18 months down the road, and not, like you said, when you've got a board meeting coming up and it's time to pay the toll, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Don't commit to that revenue number too early.
Yeah.
Just even if you're in that jam and you're like, shit, well, we still got to make up for it sometime. At least set expectations. Like, I think we can get 5 million from this, but I'm not going to say we're going to start selling revenue right now. Our first gate is by the end of this quarter. We want to see this % of our customers achieving this event. If that happens, then we'll move forward with the revenue piece. But if it doesn't, we're going to have to reset expectations with you and the board.
Mhm. When you said, how inspiring would it be for for Brian to stand up and say, by the end of the year, we're going to hit $1 million in revenue. And
Yeah.
I went, oh no, I said that.
But did you guys have product market fit? That's okay. I think that's okay if you are at that stage, but yeah, that's kind of a different point too, Colin. It was like, that's a little bit more being more mission oriented. And Halligan never did that. He never did that. He was very mission oriented. Like,
Mhm.
we want to change the way people market and make it better experiences for the buyers. It was very mission oriented. And by the way, yeah, as we do that, we're going to get to like 25 million in revenue.
Mhm.
But yeah, the whole point is just like there's so many of these founders will set that revenue target prematurely when we should be focused on consistent customer value creation.
100%. I recently read Good Strategy, Bad Strategy, and they were talking about a number is not strategy. And that was like
Nice.
a similar facepalm moment. It was like, I've seen this with, our clients, people I've talked to, friends. I've done it myself. Uh, Honestly, almost every year that we've been running PR is like the number is the strategy. And there's
Yeah.
other things, but what you end up communicating to people is here's this number and this is the strategy. And they're like, well, what comes next? It's like, oh, well, we're going to let our people figure that out. It's like, oh, okay, I guess I'm out.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. Um, Love what you're doing at Stage Two. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you, find more content? I know you get the
Mhm.
blog. You've
Yeah.
got a
Yeah,
bunch of
we're gonna
resources.
ramp up the blog again. We spent the last year raising money. So it just like it was a little hard to keep that going, but I literally am working on a PLG article right now that I hope to get out this weekend.
Nice.
So yeah, the blog's a great place. There's a bunch of like of ways to get in touch with us on Stage Two if you want to do it that way. And then I'm pretty active on LinkedIn if you want to just pin me there.
Sweet. And is your podcast on Spotify or Apple or?
I don't have one. I
Oh,
just blog. Yeah. So what I
gotcha,
do
gotcha.
is like a lot of some of the blogs you'll see there is like obviously I'm quite humbled by the investors we have around us. Many of the CROs from top software companies, and of course I lean into that by conducting 5 or 10 minute interviews
Mhm,
on certain topics. Hillary Headley, who runs sales ops at Zoom. We talked a lot about like their crazy year and how she operationalized that. John McMahon, who just published a great book called Qualified Leader and was he has on the board at Snowflake and MongoDB. He talked about like how to run a great pipeline review with a rep, which he's done is probably better than anyone in the world. So we try to I talked to the CEO of Asana, OJ, where we talked about like in integrating CSM with the sales team, right? So I try to get like really tactical with those things, and we don't run it necessarily through a podcast. It's just a video on the blog if you want to check out those discussions.
cool, man. I heard interview and I was like, I just assumed podcast
Yeah,
or
yeah,
or
yeah, sure.
something. Cool, cool. I hope you won't be offended if I send a link to your blog to my marketing team and say, hey, go find all of these people because we want to talk to them on our
Nah,
podcast.
it's public information. It's public information. So yeah, go ahead. That'd be great. They're all like, it's funny because they're all, that's a good place to start because they're people who, because they got involved with us, they see the value of looking beyond their day-to-day operating and really want to add value to the ecosystem. So it's probably a good starting point to hit them up.
Right on. And like, is it all B2B or B2C? A little bit of
Yep.
both.
We just do B2B, because we're all, that's my background and the people that we've gotten in the fund.
Mhm,
I think there's probably some cases there's some B2C plays that scale through a sales team, so they look a little more like B2B. So we'll
mhm.
do those. That's it's pretty much B2B.
Yeah, that's fair. Two totally different motions.
Yeah.
I look at the B2B and I'm like, I kind of get that. I look at B2C and I'm confused.
It's a little the movie business out there. It's like you just don't know what's going to stick, and when it goes, and it's big.
Yeah,
You know.
to me, it's a foreign language. It sounds interesting. I'd like to try and learn about it, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'll stick with what I know for now.
Nice.
Mark, thank you so much for coming on. I could keep asking you questions and talk forever, but I know there's only so much time in the day. So I really appreciate you
Cool.
taking some and giving it to us.
Yeah, you bet, Colin. Thanks to you and everyone for putting this together. I think it's a huge value for the ecosystem.